What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who Classic Review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 7th Doctor Sylvester McCoy story, Ghostlight. So this is a story from season 26, the final season of the classic series, and it's a story that I've never seen before. I've heard interesting things about it, mostly that it's possibly the most confusing episode of Doctor Who ever. But I've always heard that it's, at least if you can figure out what's going on, it is quite a good episode. It's only 3 parts long, so not a massive episode for classic Doctor Who. So yeah, let's get into this one. This is Ghostlight by Mark Platt. London, 1983. An old house mysteriously burns to the ground. 100 years earlier, the Doctor and Ace arrive at a sinister mansion in the rural hamlet of Perivale. Horrors old and new await the Doctor amongst the peculiar residents of Gabriel Chase. But it is Ace who must confront her own worst nightmares when she discovers that her past and the house's future are inextricably linked. So a pretty short little synopsis on the back of the DVD there, but presents a big thing of, something's going on here, something with Ace is going on here. It's a very character story. We actually had a couple of these in season 26. The Curse of Fenric as well, also an Ace heavy story. That story was all about Ace in a lot of ways, and this one is as well, to be honest. I can't quite remember if this comes before Curse of Fenric or after. I think this one is before. I think it goes Battlefield, Ghostlight, Curse of Fenric, then Survival. Ghostlight and Curse of Fenric may be the other way around, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, this is an interesting episode. So let's get started with the cast. So Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor. Yeah, he's really quite good in this one. There is quite a lot of funny stuff in here. The Doctor and Ace having a few little, just funny moments, just funny things they say. The dialogue between the two are great, and we'll talk about Sophie Aldred as Ace as well. She's also really good here. Like I said before, she is a big part of this story, just with, how the whole story evolves and things you learn about this mansion and stuff. It all comes back to things that happened to Ace in the past. It's the future for where they are at the moment, but you know what I mean. It is a very Ace-centric story, and she does a really good job. Sophie Aldred, Sylvester McCoy, really good as the Doctor as well. There are a few moments where, because this episode is, and it's the thing I'll talk about, the kind of tone of it's a little bit off at times. There are some moments where it's very funny, and I think those moments especially, Sylv does a great job. He also does a good job of really serious moments, and I think I've said this in the past. There's some other moments where I think they're supposed to be serious, but the way he acts is a little bit goofy and weird. There's the one moment where he's trying to get rid of light. He's trying to get light to go away, and he's holding his fist out and clenching, and he just looks a bit strange. I mean, it's probably how they wanted that shot done, but it seemed a little bit off and a bit weird, the way he was just clenching his fist and screwing up his face. Bit strange, but all in all, the cast for this one, the main cast and pretty much the whole guest cast as well, are very good. Now, before we get into some kind of points about this episode, the first thing I want to say is this is the first episode of these classic reviews that I've actually watched twice in the build-up to do the review. The reason for that, if you can hear my cat meowing in the background, I apologise for that. The reason why I watched this one twice was because the first time I watched it while building Lego. And this is not the episode. If you want to watch it and take notes for it for a review, you don't want to be doing anything else at the same time, because there's a lot going on, and if you don't take everything in, you don't know what's happening. So I had to watch this one a second time the day after, just watching it, completely focused on it, not doing anything else, just taking notes, and I understood it a lot more, and I enjoyed it a lot more. There's still a lot going on that I wasn't 100% certain about, and I don't really know how things work, but I definitely learned a lot more when actually focusing solely on watching the episode rather than having it on in the background. This is not an episode you can have on in the background, in my opinion, if you want to kind of know what's happening. So without further ado, let's get on to some points. People are terrified of being in this house at night. So we start off in this episode with just some kind of normal people in this house. They're kind of like, I don't know, maids or something. And it's going nighttime and they rush out of the house. They're like, nobody wants, and I think they say it like twice in the story, no, God bless anybody that is here in this house at night. Nobody should be in this house at night. And we're like, oh, there's obviously something weird going on at night, because they rush out of the house. They seem pretty happy before that point, but as soon as it's nighttime, they are out of the house. So that's interesting little teaser into what is to come. People from Earth's past see a light and find themselves in the house. Now, I wrote this down kind of before 100% figuring out what was going on. I don't think that's exactly how it works, but I think that's the gist of it, because you've got, what's his name? I can't remember his name. I don't have the cast names up at the moment, but you've got the kind of Neanderthal guy. You've got that explorer, I think he is. Some kind of like, I think he's like a hunter or something, like a gamesman hunter. And you've got a few other kind of cast members in there that are clearly from Earth's past, not from the point of time this episode is set in. And they have been brought into this mansion. And yeah, it's interesting. I don't 100% know how it all works, but something about somehow they saw this light, and then Light, who turns out to be not necessarily a person, but a being, brings them to the house, and then they're at this house. I don't really know. There's going to be a lot of stuff here where I'm like, I don't really know how that works, but gist of it is, there's people from Earth's past in this mansion. This is the house from Ace's past. So yeah, at the start of the episode, episode 1, Ace is talking to the doctor about how she doesn't like haunted houses. There was just this one time when she was in a haunted house and it was a bad experience. And throughout the 3 parts, you get to learn more about what happened to her in the past. It turns out that this is that house. She figures it out. I'm not sure if it's the end of episode 1. Maybe it's part 2, that she figures out this is the exact house. And yeah, it's just, I think it's really cool, building on that. It has some very good building in this episode. Ace finds the aliens and the light in the basement. So yeah, Ace goes down to the basement. I think actually, yeah, that's the part 1 cliffhanger. Because she figures out what this house is, that this is that house from her past. She goes into the basement, she finds the light, and then finds the 2 alien people down there as well, and that's kind of the cliffhanger it ends on. Don't see a whole lot from those 2 aliens, so they don't do a whole lot, but yeah, it was a decent little scene. The tone seems quite off at times, with serious moments followed by light-hearted moments. So this is what I was saying before. I think the main things with this is Ace seems absolutely terrified once she figures out what this house is. She seems traumatized, and then you kind of go from 1 minute her being absolutely terrified and, oh my god, what have you done, doctor? Why am I here? Why have you brought me here? To the next minute they're having a little joke with each other. And then it goes back to she's really upset and it's all serious, and then all of a sudden they're having a little joke and having a little woohoo and like a little laugh, and it's like the tone seems very off. And to be honest, this is one of the exceptions in Classic Who where the pacing is actually too fast in a lot of ways. So it's a 3-parter. In most of Classic Who, usually it's quite slow paced. They're like a 4-parter, could have been 2 or 3 parts. It's a 6-parter, probably could have been 4 parts. This is a 3-parter. I think it would have probably worked better as a 4-parter because they move through stuff very quickly. It's very dialogue heavy as well. So yeah, pacing and the tonal kind of shifts are quite off. Light is released by Control. So I didn't 100%, and I still don't 100% understand what Control is. I kind of understand that Light is some like mythical thing that for some reason doesn't like Earth and wants to basically destroy all organic life on Earth. Control, I'm not 100% sure. It's some like, it's like a woman. She's kind of like a hunchback. But then she wants to become like, I don't know, she wants to like, and that's the next point I've got. The doctor promises to free Control and make her ladylike. I'm pretty sure they were saying ladylike because she's like, kind of a, not to be mean or anything, but she's quite a disgusting, very rough hunchback woman. She wants to be more like a normal person. And I think, there's a point where Ace is literally like teaching her how to talk in like a you know, a very English, British, posh accent. That's a pretty funny moment. But yeah, I don't 100% understand what control really is. But anyway, I didn't mind the character. Ace is having thoughts about what happened with her in the house. So this is where she's kind of walking through. She sees all the like stuffed animals, and she has this kind of flashback, this moment, and I really like the effects where, you know, everything goes all red and it goes all blurry and all kind of all over the place. And she's like, I didn't do it, I didn't kill you. Kind of insinuating that she killed, not necessarily these animals, but, you know, she killed things in this house. And when we figure out what she did at this house later on, kind of makes sense, and I just think it's a really cool moment. It is a really good episode for Ace. Gwendolyn and her mum were unhypnotized, but light turned them to stone. So yeah, all the people in this story that are kind of brought in by light, or however it works, they're kind of somewhat hypnotized. Gwendolyn and, I can't remember what her mum's called, but I'm pretty sure it's her mum, they get unhypnotized, but then light comes around and is like, nope, you're not working for me anymore, you're not being, you know, helpful to me, and he turns them to stone. And then he's like, I think this is how I'm gonna destroy all the humans, by turning them to stone, I assume. So I like that as a moment. You know, it's kind of showing what Light now has figured out what he wants to do to these humans. Then we get the news that Ace burnt the house down because of the evil inside it. So that is what happened. She burnt the house down in the future because she sensed evil in it, or whatever it was. So I think that's just a really big thing, and it's a big moment when she figures that out, because someone else goes to like light something on fire to insinuate burning the house down, and she like has a massive freak out. She's like, don't do what I do, don't do it, don't do it. She has a massive freak out, and it's just, it's a really good scene. I really like that one. The Doctor tricks Light into thinking he hasn't catalogued all life on Earth yet. So the thing with Light, from what I understand, is that he wants to catalogue all life on Earth. He needs it all kind of in his memory banks. He needs to know what all life on Earth is before he's going to then destroy all life on Earth. And the Doctor kind of starts telling him that, oh, you haven't catalogued dragons and basilisks and all these like mythical creatures. And Light's like, oh god, I can't do anything now. I need to figure out these new creatures before I can do anything. Kind of tricks him. Something then happens to Light. He like kind of freezes and, I don't know, starts like spazzing out. So that's a little bit strange. And then the last point I've got here is that it is a very confusing episode, and it's very dialogue heavy. It's a story that needs your full attention. So yeah, I talked about it before. You need to be properly watching this episode because there's a lot going on and you really need to listen. You cannot build Lego while watching this episode. So a rating for Ghostlight. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It is quite enjoyable. It's only 3 parts long. It goes by very quickly. I mean, the fact that I watched it 2 days in a row, back to back, that doesn't happen with classic Doctor Who for me. And especially since it's not a particularly amazing episode, the fact that I did do that just shows that it does go by quickly. And yeah, it is quite enjoyable, but it's one of those episodes you really can't just put on in the background and watch. I don't mind those episodes from time to time, but this one is a bit too much. I was really focusing on it the second time around, and there's still a lot of stuff that I don't understand, and from what I have heard, I'm not the only one. A lot of people have watched this episode 3 or 4 times and still don't know what's going on. So yeah, it's enjoyable, it's fast paced, but it is, I wouldn't say it's a mess, but there's just a lot happening. So a 7 out of 10 for Ghostlight. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.